anywhere in Metro Manila and to select municipalities in Cavite and Rizal. Same-day delivery is available Mondays to Saturdays if you place your order before 12 noon. Spend more time doing the things you love. Just Hub It Delivered. Visit us now at thehub.sanmiguel.com.ph. Your home made better with San Miguel.
Bago pa lang mag-lockdown, pumunta na ako ng Lipa, Batangas. Nag-set up na ako ng kitchen doon. It was a lockdown kitchen.
Itong pantry na to, venue siya sa pagtulong. Tayo-tayo po muna yung magtulungan.
What inspired me to keep going is knowing that people need you. And if you have the capacity to help, then you should do it.
Pandemic ngayon, o kahit hindi pandemic, kahit sino ka man, ang sarap makatanggap ng tulong. Everybody needs help, regardless of where or who you are.
Sobrang perfect time po ito para mag-unite tayo lahat.
President of the Philippines, Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
I, Maria de Norte Roya Robredo, having been appointed to the position of Chair.
Good evening, I'm Pia Ontiveros. Welcome to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. Tonight on the program, children aged 5 to 11 will have to wait until next week to get their COVID-19 shots after delays in the shipment of the vaccines. Aspirant Bongbong Marcos skips yet another presidential forum. The Commission on Elections says missing events like these is a red flag. And sigh relief for Army's BTS member Jimin sends a reassuring message after undergoing an operation and catching COVID-19. The COVID-19 vaccination of kids aged 5 to 11 will not push through tomorrow after facing last-minute problems. Our Carolyn Bonkin joins us live from San Juan City. Carolyn?
The Phil Oil Flying V Center here in San Juan City is just one of the 6 inoculation sites that were supposed to start vaccinating 5 to 11 years old on Friday. Health workers here already did a simulation of the rollout earlier, and in fact, decorations are already in place, like balloons and these colorful flags to make the children more at ease. But just this afternoon, the San Juan City government already sent messages to parents of over 2,000 kids rescheduling the supposed vaccination on Friday and Saturday to next week. Presidential Advisor for COVID-19 Response, Vince Dizon, announces the rollout of the pediatric vaccination for this age group has been moved to Monday, February 7th. He cites delays in shipping of the Pfizer vaccines due to logistical concerns. 760,000 low-dose Pfizer vaccines were supposed to arrive tonight, but the delivery was rescheduled or has been rescheduled to Friday night.
DHL wrote DOH informing them of the delay. I think it was an issue with the plane that was going to bring the doses here tonight. So there's a delay of 1 day. So it will arrive tomorrow evening. So because of that, we will have to postpone the launch to Monday. So instead of tomorrow.
In a statement, the health department said they decided to reschedule to ensure adequate preparation and distribution of the vaccines. Again, children aged 5 to 11 cannot take the usual Pfizer vaccines reserved for 12 years old and above because the younger age group is only recommended to take a low dose. Pia.
Carolyn Bonkin there reporting live from San Juan City. Well, Cebu City also pushing back its vaccination schedule for children aged 5 to 11 because of the high number of COVID-19 cases in the city. Cebu's City Health Office Chief Jeffrey Ibones says they were supposed to begin the vaccination after February 4, but they're now moving the rollout to February 14. The Regional Health Department yesterday reported nearly 7,000 active cases in Cebu City, including 210 new infections. 12 deaths were also pediatric vaccination. While the government has moved pediatric vaccination to next week, some parents are hesitant about having their children inoculated. Our senior correspondent David Santos reports.
Just outside Manila Zoo, adults eager to tour their kids and have them vaccinated as well.
May privilege na sila na lumabas, gaya ngayon.
Kailangan natin niya. Kung tayo nga mga adult, kailangan natin ng protection, di ba?
Manila Zoo will be among half a dozen sites where the first batch of 5 to 11-year-olds will be getting their COVID vaccines. The DOH reports close to 400,000 children have become sick with COVID, with almost half of them within the 5 to 11 range. A separate study shows of the more than 1,800 kid hospitalizations, majority recovered but close to 150 died. While some parents are eager to have their kids vaccinated, many others remain hesitant. In a slum area in Manila, we met Christina, whose 3 of 4 grandkids are eligible to be inoculated.
Negative.
Kids aged 5 to 11, 2 people have sought a temporary restraining order against pediatric vaccination. Journalist Dominic Almelor and a Gurley Samonte filed a petition with a Quezon City court for the, quote, unconstitutional directive of the Health Department on the rollout of COVID-19 shots for the age group. They also want the order deemed null and void for what they say is being issued in grave abuse of discretion. As they say, it takes away the authority of parents or guardians to decide for their children. Petitioners cited a portion of the DOH directive which says the state may give parent or guardian refuses to have their children vaccinated despite the desire or willingness of the child. They also note vaccines are not yet fully approved, so children should be spared from what they say is undue experimentation. Now, reacting to this, the Health Department and the National Task Force Against COVID-19 say the policy is the result of a careful study by health experts and is approved in many countries, including the United States. They also note there have been no adverse events among the 12 to 17 age group since the rollout began last year, which proves all vaccines are safe and effective. Now, more schools in areas under Alert Level 2 will be open for face-to-face classes. Education Secretary Leonor Briones has ordered all regional directors to implement the resumption and expansion of limited face-to-face classes for both public and private schools in their areas. 28 pilot schools in Metro Manila will start classes on February 9. By February 14, 57 schools in the Calabarzon region will take part in the expansion of face-to-face classes. Around 100 schools in Bulacan have also expressed readiness to reopen physical classes by February 21. Briones says these schools need to first secure a clearance from their respective local governments. Only vaccinated students and teachers are allowed to take part. President Duterte in quarantine after exposure to a COVID-positive household staff. Acting palace spokesperson Carlo Nograles says the president tested negative for the virus and will continue to perform his duties as chief executive while in quarantine. In a separate message, Nograles said the president was last exposed to the staff member on January 30th. His RT-PCR test result on January 31st, the next day, came out negative. He retested again the next day, February 1, and again tested negative. Nograles added the president's visit to the Cardinal Santos Medical Center in San Juan was for, quote, his routine medical checkup only. CNN Philippines is asking Nograles for more details about that visit. He has yet to respond. When we return on Newsnight, the president's signature is all that's needed for a bill easing restrictions on foreign ownership, and it's bringing interest from students and teachers are allowed easing restrictions on foreign ownership, and it's bringing interest from investors abroad. Plus, time is ticking for Mr. Duterte, who must select replacements for retired poll officials. The election watchdogs say the names should be released soon. More after the break.
Sure ka ba talaga dito?
Ano ka ba? Mabait si Papa. Pa! Si Pinky po.
Paano po, Mr. Fardo? Please, call me sir. Aba, laki ng supermarket dito ah. Bili tayo ng drinks. Ah, ako na po ang drinks. Sige na. Sige na. Gutom na ako. Oh, kuha na mga kami, Mike. So, paano? Mabiyahe pa tayo. Sir, hatid ko na po kayo. Central Hub yan. Develop na tong part ng Tarlac ah. Sir, sagot ko na po ito. Tingin mo sa akin. Cheap? Sir, hindi po. Joke lang. Sir, pwede na po ako. Thanks. Next time ulit. Miggy.
Max Fun! Woo!
Kay dami mong pinagdaanan, ngayon pa ba susukuan? Kung lahat tayo'y nabibigatan, sama-sama natin tong lagpasan. Sa bawat laban, hinebra tayo. At sa pag-ahon, hinebra tayo. Sa huling patak ng bagong tapang, pagsubok mo ay malalampasan. Sasama-samang huling patak, tuloy-tindi ang bagong tapang.
Laban.
Hanggang sa huling patak. Para sa pangarap, para sa pamilya,
Para sa bayan. Hanggang sa huling patak, para sa One Metro Nation.
Welcome back to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. I'm Pio Ontiveros. Consumers have been grappling with rising fuel prices for the past 5 weeks. Since the new year, fuel costs have increased by up to almost 8 pesos. In this report, Stanley Gaheta explains how these affect the prices of some basic commodities.
Eric Albor's family food budget is good enough for a day. No extra for basic commodities that could last for days or even a week.
Naghanap na lang ng mga bultuhan na tumpok-tumpok na ano lang, tag-100, mga ganun. Pwede na yun, pagka-asay na yun. Kahit sa gas pa lang, sa gasolina, ang taas ng tinaas eh.
Yung asukal po namin, tumaas na mga sa itlog naman po. Meron pong 150, 165, tsaka 170.
Albor is paying more for food as a result of pass-on production and transportation costs from the agriculture sector due to the steady rise in fuel prices.
Pag sinasabi nating petroleum, unang-una doon is fertilizers agad. So, sa ngayon po, nagdoble na ang presyo ng fertilizer. Sinabawasan na nila yung put ng kanilang fertilizer kasi ganun lang yung kaya ng pera nila.
Supermarkets can't help but also raise prices of basic items like canned goods, infant formula, and adult milk this month because of higher costs from the source.
Ang pagpresyo ng isang produkto is a management decision. By whom? By the manufacturer. Maaring it pushes them to decide, okay, it's time to increase our prices.
Fuel prices have risen since the beginning of the year, and the latest was by almost 75 centavos per liter for gasoline and diesel. But the transport sector is cautious on seeking a fair increase at this time.
Very careful ang piston sa paggamit ng option na yan. Kasi nga, ang tatamaan din, mga ordinaryong mga kababayan din natin.
According to the Energy Department, fuel prices keep rising because of uncertainties in the global market, in particular, tensions in Russia and Ukraine and the Middle East. Supply disruption in Turkey due to pipeline explosions and production concerns on the part of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries despite rising demand.
Tumataas ang pangangailangan sa krudo at petroleum products. Tumaas na ang demand, nagkaroon pa ng problema sa supply.
For an oil import-dependent economy, the government continues to monitor global prices and tries to mitigate their impact on consumers like Eric Albor.
Napaka-volatile ng prices sa petroleum product. Maaring bumaba kagad, hindi mo naman kagad mabawi kagad yung tinaas mo.
The Energy Department says global oil demand will remain high as economies reopen and recover from the effects of the pandemic. Stanley Gahete, CNN Philippines.
As the country eases pandemic restrictions, the government is also relaxing rules for foreign investors. A proposed law allowing full foreign ownership of businesses now up for the president's approval. Senior correspondent Lois Calderon explains what that will mean for ordinary Filipinos.
A game changer for foreign investors. The Philippines has rewritten economic rules by opening up telecommunications, airlines, and railways to foreign ownership 100%. The bill amending the Public Service Act is about to become a law, with President Duterte's signature set to seal it. For decades, foreigners can only own up. Philippines was in search for a third telco player. Let us hear Lars Wittig, President of the European Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines.
These companies we expect to return here. So now we say yes to billions, we say yes to Elon Musk, we say yes to the latest state of the art.
Europeans look interested in transport infrastructure too.
We can all compete on the same terms for domestic freight, domestic travel, and that for the better of the Filipinos, for logistics. We expect foreign direct investments to maybe go into a double-digit billion-dollar level.
Lawmaker Joey Salceda expects an increase of up to 300 billion pesos in foreign direct investments over the next 5 years. Yet amid the cheers, there were jeers too. Critics and militant groups Gabriela and InfraWash attack the redefinition of public utilities as unconstitutional. Still, lawmakers put a safeguard to protect national security and sovereignty. Foreign state-owned enterprises are prohibited from owning capital in any public service classified as public utility or critical infrastructure. State-owned China Telecoms owns 40% of third telco player Dito Telecommunity. Dito says the Beijing-owned telco will keep it that way.
So we're still studying it. For telco, kailangan mo ng malaking pera talaga. And if the local market cannot provide that money, then foreign investors really are needed. No? The 40% stake ng Chinatel, that's unimpaired.
Lifting foreign ownership limits is a game changer, and not only for business. Those who support it hope it will translate to cheaper airfare, train tickets, shipping costs, and faster internet. For when there's greater competition, it's the consumer who wins. Lois Calderon, CNN Philippines.
A relief for employees as lawmakers seek to prohibit working beyond 8 or 12 hours. Calamba City Representative Joaquin Chipeco filed the Workers' Rest Bill, which will apply to those even working from home. Under the measure, employers will not be allowed to call, email, or message their employees during rest hours. Corresponding fines will be imposed on violators. Chipeco's bill is the counterpart of Senator Francis Tolentino's proposed measure. Workers share their sentiment on the proposed law.
Suportado ko yun na hindi na pwede dapat aguluhin. Halimbawa, pag nasa bahay na yung empleyado, tapos kailangan magaganto for emergency kasi kulang yung empleyado. Feeling ko hindi dapat gawin yon kasi rights namin na magpahinga na.
Depende yan po sa sitwasyon kung kinakailangan tapusin yung dapat tapusin ngayong araw. Pwede naman po.
The Labor Department says it supports any proposal that will benefit the welfare of workers, but the department is apprehensive about penalizing employers. For the first time, presidential aspirants will share the same platform to discuss their plans for the country in detail. But as Anjo Alimario tells us, one hopeful declined to attend.
6 presidential aspirants have been invited to the Panata sa Bayan, the 2022 Presidential Candidates Forum of the Kapisanan ng mga Broadcaster ng Pilipinas. Vice President Leni Robredo, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno, Senators Manny Pacquiao and Panfilo Lacson, and Labor leader Caliori de Guzman are attending. Former Senator Bongbong Marcos, however, says he's not joining. His reason, conflict of schedule. As early as January 19, Marcos had already declined.
Pero ang nakasulat kasi, nakalagay doon ay ang prior commitments niya, currently, ang nakalagay, may word na currently ma-recall ko sa sulat. His prior commitments have not cleared up yet, no? Kaya we were still hopeful na yun, baka may mga changes.
This isn't the first time Marcos declined to attend a presidential forum or interview. He turned down GMA's Jessica Soho presidential interviews, citing the host's alleged bias. On Wednesday, Robredo faced DCRH Bakit Ikaw presidential job interview for more than 2 hours, despite having an openly critical panel member. There, she was asked if it's possible for her and Marcos to unite.
Pag basta lang natin tinanggap yung ganon, dahil lang sa unification, ano yung mensaheng binibigay natin sa tao? Na okay lang? Na okay lang yung lahat ng mga abuses na ginawa in the past? Na okay lang yung korupsyon? Na okay lang na convicted ka of a crime na hindi mo pa napapanagutan? Yung conviction mo ay ino-offer mo ulit yung sarili mo?
Robredo was in Pampanga on Thursday to turn over antigen test kits in Guagua and Angeles. Meanwhile, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno is urging Filipinos to rekindle the patriotism and love of country of our World War II heroes and emulate their trait as we fight COVID-19. Senator Panfilo Lacson, on the other hand, is offering 2 possible solutions to mitigate the oil price increases. One is to amend the provision on fuel excise tax under the train law. The other is to push for a joint oil exploration in the West Philippine Sea.
Sa akin, maganda rin yung, sa ngayon, ang alam ko, pumapagi yung China doon sa 60-40, meaning 40% lang sila. Sa akin, symbolic yun. At hindi natin papayagan, pagka sila sumang-ayon doon sa ating saligang batas na sa joint exploration, yung joint endeavor, no? At 60-40, ibig sabihin, sa akin, subliminally, kinikilala nila sa atin yun.
Anjo Alimario, CNN Philippines.
Caliori de Guzman slams Marcos for declining to attend the KBP forum. For the labor leader, Marcos's refusal to participate in the event shows he'll also back out when faced with crisis if he wins the presidency. The Commission on Elections says non-participation in forums and debates is not a red flag for the poll body, but for COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez, skipping these events is a red flag for voters and a missed opportunity to know more about the country's aspiring leaders.
I think it's very important that in recognition of how important it is to the people, that we acknowledge that they failed to show up, right? It's not going to be glossed over. It's not going to be ignored. They're going to have a podium right there with their name on it. and no face above it. So that's their lookout.
Catch the KBP Presidential Forum tomorrow at 9 in the morning, moderated by our senior anchor Rico Hizon and ABS-CBN's Karen Davila. The forum will be simulcast on our news channel, ABS-CBN, TV5, and over 300 broadcast stations nationwide. Our senior anchor, Pinky Webb, will also host a pre-forum special at 8:30 in the morning, only here on CNN Philippines. Various groups urge President Duterte to disclose his short list of possible replacements for 3 COMELEC officials who retired this week. Trisha Terada filed this report.
With just 3 months to go before the May elections, President Duterte has yet to pick replacements for retired COMELEC Chairman Sherif Abbas and Commissioners Rowena Guanzon and Antonio Co. Jr. Participate a non-partisan coalition of academe, civil society organizations, youth groups, and sectoral leaders wants the president to disclose the shortlist and specific standards he will be using to select the next officials of the poll body. They say the public has the right to know.
Now, if we select, commissioners who are more of the same right now, insofar as their tie-ups to Duterte, whether as
The public has the right
schoolmates,
to know.
fraternity brothers, or region mates or city mates, commissioners who are more of the same right now, insofar as their tie-ups to Duterte, whether as schoolmates, fraternity brothers, or region mates or city mates, that would be very, very problematic.
Political analyst Dr. Jean Franco says these are valid anxieties and concerns in light of the 2005 Hello Garci scandal, where a sitting president and a COMELEC official allegedly rigged poll results. Franco also says it's crucial for President Duterte to be seen as objective, as his daughter is vying for the second highest post.
If the president has a hand in filling all these vacancies, then syempre hindi maaalis na mag-alala at magkaroon ng suspecha yung mga tao. So, the COMELEC and even the president himself should be transparent.
The COMELEC will soon be composed of 7 members, all handpicked by President Duterte. Same scenario in 2016 when all commissioners were appointed by then President Noynoy Aquino. As the polls near, election watchdogs and organizations call on Mr. Duterte to select commissioners with integrity, proven competence, and independent.
We need independent-minded people in the COMELEC, and to appoint, 3 commissioners right now would be very, very crucial to the integrity of our elections.
Our democracy is actually at stake in this selection. Kung walang tiwala yung mga tao dito sa tatlong ito, di malulusaw din yung tiwala dun sa resulta at yung conduct ng buong May 2022 election.
Franco and Arrow say the president must pick candidates outside his circle to send a clear message that his choice was based solely on their integrity and experience. Trisha Terada, CNN Philippines.
Straight ahead, BTS member Jimin gives an update on his health after testing positive for COVID-19 and undergoing surgery. And we take a look at how the national team fared against South Korea in its AFC Asian Cup semifinal match. Stay tuned to CNN Philippines.
Bilib ako sa MX3 dahil ito ay napatunayang may alpha, beta at gamma mangosteen. MX3 capsule helps avoid pain discomfort para iwas sakit. Tested and proven na low sodium, cholesterol-free at fat-free. Dito ako sa tunay, natural at original. MX3.
Mahalagang paalala, ang MX3 capsule ay hindi gamot at hindi dapat gamiting panggamot sa anumang uri ng sakit.
Sure ka ba talaga dito?
Ano ka ba? Mabait si Papa. Pa! Si Pinky po.
Paano po, Mr. Fardo?
Please, call me sir.
Aba, ang laki ng supermarket dito ah. Bili tayo ng drinks. Ako na po ang drinks. Sige na. Gutom na ako. Kuha na mga kami, Mike. Sold. Paano? Pabiyahe pa tayo. Sir, hatid ko na po kayo. Central Hub yan! Develop na tong part ng Tarlac Sir, sagot ko na po ito. Tingin mo sa akin. Cheap? Sir, hindi po. Joke lang. Sir, pwede na po ako. Thanks. Next time ulit. Miggy.
Max Fun! Woo!
Amid the darkness, look on the bright side. It has never been this good for Philippine golf. The country was able to send its best golfers to the last two Olympics and clinched a major championship. First, Miguel Tabuena competed in Rio 2016, followed by Bianca Pagdanganan and Filipino-Japanese golf sensation Yuka Saso in Tokyo 2020. Months before Tokyo, Yuka won the prestigious U.S. Women's Open. With Philippine golfers breaking through on a global stage, the country's golfing community thrived and became vibrant.
It's always an honor to play for the flag. There's always a different feel of playing for something bigger than yourself.
It's really great to see how much golf has taken off, especially last year. It was a tough year for everyone, but I think golf is one of the sports where you could implement safety protocols.
International Container Terminal Services Incorporated, or ICTSI, has been supporting the training of Filipino golfers, including the staging of pro circuits by Pilipinas Golf.
ICTSI and PGT, LPGT are doing a great job providing the professional golfers to have a tour in Philippines.
Me, Yuka, and Bianca would 100% agree that we wouldn't be where we are now without ICTSI.
Over the years, golf greats like Jennifer Rosales and Frankie Mendoza and current superstars like Yuka, Bianca, and Miguel have gotten support from ICTSI and Pilipinas Golf, helping them achieve their goals, including the promotion of Philippine golf worldwide. With ICTSI's support, golf is the silver lining in Philippine sports. I'm Sam Sidwani, CNN Philippines.
The Philippine women's football team suffers a loss to South Korea in the AFC Asian Cup with a score of 0-2. The Korean team went in strong, scoring 2 goals just in the first half. In its previous match, the Philippines notably made a historic win. It qualified for the Football World Cup for the first time ever after beating Chinese Taipei, also advancing to the World Tournament. Our Asian quarterfinals victors, China, Japan, and South Korea. And before we go, Jimin of BTS delivering some good news to fans yesterday, assuring them he is recovering well after catching COVID-19 and undergoing an operation. The K-pop idol posted an update on web platform Weverse, saying he may be able to leave the hospital soon. BTS management company announced earlier this week that Jimin was diagnosed with the virus on Sunday and had to undergo surgery for acute appendicitis the next day. And that is it for tonight. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
This program is brought to you by
This program is rated PG.
RPN Regional AM radio stations nationwide welcomes CNN Philippines, a first on radio. To bring you the latest news you can use, news you can trust. Listen to Newsnight, weekdays, 6 p.m.
Now go above and beyond the headlines.
Followed by Med Talk, Health Talk.
We'll talk about how to keep ourselves healthy during the pandemic.
Politics as usual.
Our guests for tonight, 2 political science professors.
Up close and more. Catch CNN Philippines Hour in all RPN AM radio stations. Weekdays, 6 to 7 p.m.
Assets, liabilities, and net worth, or SALN, may seem like an ordinary piece of paper, but a president and 2 chief justices removed from office because of it. By law, all public officials and employees are required to file their SALNs containing information on their assets such as cash and properties, liabilities, business interests, financial connections, and relatives in government. These can be used to expose corruption, conflicts of interest, and unexplained wealth of those in government. But up to this day, President Rodrigo Duterte has yet to release his SALN beginning 2018. And now, Bongbong Marcos, former senator who seeks to replace Duterte, under fire for saying he will not publicize his SALN if or when elected president. We'll take a closer look at the role of SALNs in good governance tonight. Good evening, I'm Pio Ontiveros. Welcome to your weekly political appointment fix, Politics as Usual. Our guests tonight, joining us via Zoom, Attorney Christian Monsod, one of the framers of the 1987 Constitution, and senatorial aspirant, lawyer, Attorney Chel Diokno. Let's begin with you, Attorney Monsod, as a framer of the 1987 Constitution, a member of the 1986 Constitutional Commission. What does the Constitution say about SALNs? I know you might feel like you're sounding like a broken record, but I think it's very good to remind people what the Constitution says about SALNs. Sir, Attorney Monsod.
Yes, well, under Article 11 on accountability of public officers, that is Section
Attorney
17.
Monsod?
Yes. Sorry, can you hear me?
Attorney Monsod?
Yes. Yes. Can you hear me? I'm not muted anymore. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Hi, sir. Yes, now I can hear you, sir. So I hope you heard my question, po, sir.
Yes, I got it. Well, the specific constitutional provision,
go ahead,
of
po.
course, Article 11 and on accountability of public officers, Section 17, which requires public officials and so on to file a declaration of assets, liabilities, and net worth. And also, what's important is the end of that paragraph, which said that the declaration shall be provided to the public and in the manner provided by law. That the law cannot limit the amount of information, but just prescribe the manner of disclosure. So that's the specific provision on applications and wealth and so on of their agents. Also in Article 11, public office is a public trust. Also Section 7 that says that the Ombudsman is the protector of the people. The Ombudsman is not the protector of public officials against the public. On the contrary, it is the job of the Ombudsman to be the protector of the people. Okay? So that's the premises that we can discuss what this is all about.
Attorney Monsod, I started the show by asking you to repeat, like I said, like a broken record, because it's so important that we all remember what the Constitution says about the SALN. I have a few follow-up questions, but before we go to that, I wanted to ask Attorney Chel Diokno naman, who's also joining us via Zoom, what the law, for example, RA 6713, says about SALN. Again, Attorney Chel, I know you know this by heart, the way Attorney Chris Monsod knows the Constitution. Very good to remind people about when these can be released, who can apply for a copy of SALN of so-and-so, what should be submitted. Parang ang daming mga requirements. Was it meant to be that way? Attorney Monsod, earlier you also said, di ba, yung public has the right to know. Was it really meant to be that way na kailangan may mga, hurdles before we get a copy of any official's SALN? Attorney Chris Monsod?
No, it's mandatory. It's a constitutional provision after all. It's not just a law. is a constitutional provision, and the purpose of it is accountability. Like, you have to have to file a SAM at the beginning of your term, and you have to file a SAM at the end of your term. And then the information to the public is, if there is a questionable increase in your wealth, for example, they have a right to know what happened, how come that you increase your wealth disproportionately to your compensation as a government official. Because there are also prohibitions on what you can or cannot do as a public official, right? You have to disclose for example, your financial or contractual connections in business or profession and so on. And if I were a public official who was nothing to hide, I would be happy to provide the details in order to set the record straight on my net worth and on my wealth.
Attorney Chell, kanina binanggit niyo yung termino na discretionary, and for example, we remember very clearly how late last year Ombudsman Martires was talking about how there should be several guidelines for releasing the presidents and the VPs SAL-N, and he was saying why are people so interested in it. Yung Constitution as the portion of that read by Attorney Chris Monsod, and the law, RA 6713, as you reminded us, was it meant to be, para bang, pwede bang i-amend? Of course, laws can be amended, Constitution can be amended, pero, pwede ba nating galawin yan para para mabago yung mga provisions on the SAL-N, for example, Attorney Chell, or hindi dapat?
The law is the law until it's amended. It must be followed by everyone, especially by our public officials. And if you look at the relevant provisions of 6713, they really provide for two rights for the public. Number one is access. Any citizen can have access at any reasonable time of the day. There's no even need to pay any fee, and there's no condition imposed by the law. If you want to get a copy of the SAL-N, then you must pay a fee. And that's pretty much the only condition imposed by the law. So if there are officials who are claiming that there must be so many different requirements that are not in the law, my view is that that's ultra vires, that is exceeding what's in the law, and they cannot do that. If they want to do it, then they should amend the law first. They cannot impose their discretion when the law does not allow discretion, and in fact provides that the duty is ministerial.
Well, we've had top government officials, falling, or the acts falling on top government officials because of this. And President Duterte has said that he Welcome back. This is Politics as Usual. I'm Pia Ontiveros. A Chief Justice and incumbent President removed or medyo sumabit dahil sa issue ng statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth ng SAL-N. That is what we're talking about tonight with Attorney Chell Diokno and Attorney Christian Monsod. President Duterte has swore that he will not release his... Is there a remedy for this or wala? Attorney Christian Monsod, sir.
Well, what is to me a matter of concern is that it seems that all the government agencies mentioned in the Constitution whose psalm should be disclosed to the public are making rules on the content of the psalm, right? They'll just give a summary of assets, liabilities, and net worth, and so on, and who can ask for a copy. In which they said that interpret the Constitution.
Yeah. Well, so if President Duterte says no, I'm not going to release my SAL-N, what is the remedy here? Can he be compelled who will compel him to release his SALN? Because, even if we say the public has the right to know, and then he says, no, I'm not going to release it, paano na?
That's Supreme Court. Ultimately.
So kailangan umakyat pa sa Supreme Court para humingi ng SALN, which is already provided for in the Constitution and also provided for by law.
No, at saka yung specific officers. That's the one I'm saying that it's disappointing that the specific officers that are mentioned in the Constitution are making up their own instructions or conditions on the content. Manner, yes, but not content.
Well, Senator Bongbong Marcos now saying that if or when elected president, he's not going to be releasing, he's not inclined to release his SALN dahil pwedeng gamitin laban sa kanya. That's paraphrasing him. How do you view that now, Attorney Monsod?
Well, I think he's wrong. And I think it's about time that we reviewed, the agencies of government review their own instructions or conditions and so on, because this is the constitutional provision is not being implemented properly by, unfortunately, by almost all, if not all, of the government agencies that are tasked to do the job.
Attorney Chel Diokno, of course, you are a senatorial candidate on the slate of another presidential candidate, Vice President Leni Robredo. But what were your thoughts when you heard Bongbong Marcos say this, that he is not inclined to release his SALN if or when elected president?
Well, I thought no one is supposed to be above the law, and I thought we're supposed to have the same standard of justice for everyone. What the statement of Mr. Marcos is really a reflection of how we have a double standard in our country, where ordinary government officials have to file their SALNs. They get charged and even convicted or removed from the service if they don't, while those who are in high government posts apparently can get away with it. And that is really why we have to do something about justice in our country. We have to find a way to strengthen it and to strengthen accountability.
So what can we do? When you say we have to find a way to strengthen accountability, what is that way? What exactly do we need to do?
Well, first of all, what remedies are available? It may be possible to file a petition for mandamus against the statutory custodian of the SALN for them to release the SALN as required by Republic Act 6713. That could be filed in any of the courts that have jurisdiction over mandamus. Other than that, if they are impeachable officials, they could also be subjected to impeachment, but we know that that's really a political exercise. In terms of legislation, it is possible to strengthen the citizens' right of access by amending Republic Act 6713 to give it more teeth, to make sure that it's very clear that the duty is ministerial and that any official who blocks the release of SALN should be penalized severely, because after all, we are just talking about making sure that government officials do not amass ill-gotten wealth. The purpose of a SALN is very clear. The public wants to know what you have in terms of your assets, liabilities, and net worth, and every year thereafter we can compare. If you declared only, say, 10 million today and next year you declared 50 million, then the public has a right to know where did you get that other money. And that really is very important to all of us, because the money of the government is not theirs. It belongs to the people.
And of course, we are presuming that everyone who files a SALN is telling the truth, not truthful yung laman ng SALN, right? I mean, so hindi lang pag-file ng SALN, the act of filing it, but making sure that what you put there is really the truth, right?
Yes, and many people are not aware that under the law, when you file a SALN, you are also required to execute an authority in favor of the ombudsman, so that the ombudsman can confirm the veracity of your SALN. That authority includes you're allowing the ombudsman to look into your records in the BIR, to check your business interests and financial connections. to ensure that your declarations are really accurate. And if not, then the ombudsman should be going after the person who misdeclared in their SALN or didn't file at all.
All right, more from our guests, Attorney Christian Monsod and Attorney Chel Diokno on the SALN. When we return, this is Politics as Usual. This is Politics as Usual. We are on our final stretch. Our guests, Attorney Christian Monsod and Attorney Chel Diokno. We're talking about SALNs. My final question, Attorney Diokno and Attorney Monsod, is this: can anyone be above the law for any reason whatsoever? Pwede ba siyang exempted dun sa batas ukol sa Statement of Assets, Liabilities, and Net Worth? When I say anyone, I'm referring specifically to the incumbent president, so President Duterte, saying, no, I don't want to release my SALN and therefore he will not. Is he exempted because he's a very popular president? The other anyone we are referring to here, of course, is a presidential aspirant, Senator Bongbong Marcos. Can he be exempted from the law? Is he above the law? Because, for example, well, he's very popular right now. Pre-campaign surveys put him at 50% and above in survey rankings. Meron po bang pwedeng ma-exempt? Tulad nila, halimbawa, Attorney Chel Diokno, you first, and then Attorney Christian Monsod, then we'll go to final words.
No one, as in no person at all, is allowed to be above the law. That's precisely why we have a law. Whenever Congress passes a statute, that is meant to be applied uniformly to everyone. And no one, especially those who are in government, can say that they are exempted. In fact, it is the opposite. Those in government should be the very first to abide by what is the law, because that's their purpose in sitting there. The authority that they wield is not their authority. Sovereignty comes from us, and we give our officials the government authority that they have. Therefore, they must abide.
I agree with Attorney Diokno. Nobody is above the law. And just in current events, even the #1 tennis player in the world is not above the law. When what happened to Djokovic, what more the president of a country, as Chel has properly said, that is the highest position, and it's a public trust. How can we trust a government when we cannot trust a president?
Public office is public trust. Final words, Attorney Chel Diokno, you first.
Thank you, Pia. Transparency and accountability are the heart of our democracy. That's in fact the reason why we kicked out the dictatorship. And that's why it's very clear in our constitution and in the laws that have been passed that we should have transparency and accountability. That's precisely the purpose of Republic Act 6713, the Code of Conduct of Public Officials and Employees, to ensure that our government officials don't hide their assets and that they are true to their duty and obligation to really be honest and not corrupt, and that they will just serve the people rather than being served by the people. That's why, to me, it's really sad, and I'm really determined to make sure that laws like Republic Act 6713 are given more teeth, and that we can restore the virtues of transparency and accountability to our government.
Attorney Monsod, your final words?
Yes, well, I think we've said it all. It's a public office, it's a public trust. And President Duterte is a very bad example of a president who refuses to abide by the Constitution. He filed up to 2017 and then he just didn't do it. And it is very disappointing. And I think really, when the ombudsman, who is supposed to be the protector of the people, is protecting people like Duterte from following the Constitution, there's something wrong with the office of the ombudsman when it does that. And Marcos Jr., who aspires to the presidency, seems to aspire also for what Duterte is doing, because he refuses to disclose the content of his assets and his liabilities and wealth. Well, I think the people should speak, and insist that everybody must comply with the law and nobody is above the law, particularly a candidate and a candidate for president and an incumbent president.
Attorney Christian Monsod and Attorney Chel Diokno, thank you very much, gentlemen, for being with us tonight on the show. And by the way, we did extend an invitation to a representative of Senator Marcos to join the show. We have been told before, don't talk politics at the dinner table or at a family reunion or in Viber groups and risk digital warfare. But we can talk about it here on the show, your weekly political appointment fix, politics as usual. I'm Pio Ontiveros. See you back here next Tuesday, 8:30 p.m.
Let's get ready to rumble! DYKB, Radio Ronda Bacolod, 1404.